So this book here, this piece of history, subhanAllah, that this team in Australia, the Uyghurs, the supporters, the activists have been able to put together is Uyghur Resistance.
Like you could say activists,
And we also
advocacy workers who created this book to define what Uyghur really is.
And it's being wiped out by not only the enemies in our homeland, but here in the West as well. Unfortunately, like a lot of Uyghurs born here in Australia don't know how to speak their mother tongue.
What I realize is that no matter how hard I try to assimilate, or any youth that's born in Australia tries to assimilate, at the end of the day, we'll never really be fully Australian.
Said that
Because
our
yes, you know,
ancestors didn't toil for this land.
yes,
Let that sink in for a second. Our ancestors didn't toil for this land in Australia, and neither did the ancestors of, the majority white population.
Americans, the difference of how you can tell between the people who belong on that land and the people who don't belong on that land is how much they respect it. Because me, I've never actually been to Baton. I was born here in Australia, and I've never been back. I can't really go back.
Right.
But I still have this connection to that I can't explain.
Yeah.
It's like wherever you go, wherever there's an Uyghur order, you won't go hungry, and you'll have a roof. That's actually what the community is like. We really prioritize Islam, because a lot of the values and like cultural values and stuff of the Uyghur culture, it aligns well with this book is like it's the biggest FU to the Chinese.
Yeah, the CCP is fuming right now.
Decided to name it Bash Egmes Uyghurlar. Bash Egmes essentially means
The
you
the
don't
head
put your
does not
head
He said
bow.
that
Yes.
Uyghurs, they have 7 attributes that they need for them to be able to conquer the world. They have 6 of them. The one attribute that they don't have, that if they had it, they will conquer the world. That is why this book is so important. Because unfortunately, this book is it's essentially a piece of history, and it's a written down history of what happens when Uyghurs come
About
together.
how, for the people who don't know how to support Uyghurs, I've had so many people wondering, so what can I do? Like, do I really just have to boycott all these, Well, there's also this idea of breaking down that cultural barrier, or that misunderstanding that you might
That's
have,
it, that's it.
Like,
the
even
crisis
just...
is real, guys.
Yeah.
It's not just like a buzzword that people throw around. It's real. It's what we experience on a daily basis as migrants, as first and second generation migrants.
It's
in Australia.
too difficult, but sometimes showing people that, I gotta go pray. Like, I gotta tell them, I gotta pray. And then I tell them about 2 hours later, I gotta pray again. And they're like, didn't you just pray?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I guess awkward. So there's always little nuances. I love when people ask me questions because I might wear the doppa, I have one, alhamdulillah, still in my car. I wear it to Jummah, and people might ask me, or they recognize it. They say, "Oh, you're wearing a Uyghur hat." I say, "Oh yeah, it's a doppa."
Yeah.
And they say, "So are you Uyghur?" I say, "No, but I'm very close with this community. My family, we have a bit of Uzbek in us. So I find that it's so important for me to embrace it, and we shouldn't keep the word Uyghur out of our mouths with that." Alrighty. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to another episode of Chit Chat and Chai. I'm Numan, this is Shahzad. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Nasrullah. Nasrullah, tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Nasrullah Mehman. I'm from Adelaide, South Australia, and I'm part of the Uyghur community there, the Uyghur youth group there. We're called the People of East Turkestan, or POWIP. We're also under the ETAA, so East Turkestan Australian Association Youth. So we're under that, and the main thing that we do is obviously advocacy work, try to keep the culture alive, do work for the community. We're focused more on community-driven stuff rather than just advocacy, social media work. And I'm here in Melbourne, have a chat with these guys.
Yeah, what brought you to Melbourne? Hoş geldiniz. What brought you to Melbourne?
Actually, what brought me to Melbourne was this book right here. It's the Uyghur Resistance Book. It's made by a team members like Sam Biddle, Nuria Qasim, Kate Benson, and if I'm not mistaken, there's one more author. But so it's pretty much a team of, I guess you could say activists, advocacy workers who created this book to define what Uyghur really is. And because most people, when they think about Uyghurs, when they think about East Turkestan, all they can think about is what's happening in our country, all the genocide, the concentration camps, all the not so good stuff. This book, it shows that we are more than our struggles. We are a people of love. We are a people of beautiful culture, beautiful food, traditions, religion, and it's more than just the suffering. So that's what this book is about.
So that's really important for everyone to see, to relate to just really personify what it means to be Uyghur, you know, to make it more than just what you see on the news or what people allow you to see. So you do ask the question, what is Uyghur? Do you want to answer that? And Shahzad as well.
Yeah.
Tell us, what do you guys reckon Uyghur means?
Well, the Uyghur, what it means is, I think for me, it's more of a personal thing. For me, Uyghur means family. It means, you know, culture, tradition. You know, it's like how asking, like, you know, for example, what does being an Australian mean? You know, it's not one specific thing. It's, you know, it's a collection of different experiences, different upbringings, you know, different ways of life. But at the end, I think the core of being Uyghur is just being welcoming, having companionship, having love. Because our culture, it really prides itself on, you know, welcoming guests or welcoming others.
Hospitality.
That's
so unmatched.
Yeah.
Very
so
much.
I think, and also the actual definition of Uyghur, I forgot what that means. I'll have to figure it out. But being Uyghur, it's more, it's the language, it's the people as well, but it's also a feeling. It's a hard feeling to really describe, but the times I have felt, you know, what being Uyghur really means is times of, like, for example, Eid, you know, when the community comes together, or even when there's like a Nazr, you know, when the community comes together. That is what being Uyghur. Nazr is like funeral, like janaza. Those are the times where being Uyghur is really felt. You know, when you come together as one, that's what being Uyghur means. You know, for a common cause. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's really amazing. What about you, Shahzad?
I don't think I could have described that better myself. I think it's just given a really good snapshot of what it means to be Uyghur, especially living here in Australia. Because let's be honest here, we're in a struggle to maintain our identity as Uyghurs here in the West, outside of our homeland, outside of our watan. We're here in a struggle to maintain our identity, kind of maintain our traditional practices. And Nasrullah, you spoke really well about how we've been built off hospitality, and not just that, our entire culture has been existing for thousands of years now, let's be honest. And it's being wiped out by not only the enemies in our homeland, but here in the West as well. Unfortunately, like a lot of Uyghurs born here in Australia don't know how to speak their mother tongue properly.
I was going to ask as well, you said preserving language or preserving culture is so important. Do you both, I think Shahzad, you definitely speak it now, you taught yourself, and Nasrullah, you speak fluent Uyghur as well?
Yeah, we do, alhamdulillah, because, you know, growing up, my family, like, you know, my cousins, my own immediate family, not only do we speak Uyghur at home, but we also went to Uyghur language school. So in Adelaide, the Uyghur language school is pretty big as well. Every Saturdays, and then they've changed the Sundays now. But every Saturdays, we used to go there for like 2-3 hours. And, you know, we were just like learning. And then I'm realizing now is that, because obviously when I'm there, like I was a kid, you know, so I'd go there, play around, all that. But now that I have left it, you know, now that I'm not in the Uyghur language school anymore, I'm realizing how beneficial it really was. Because just being surrounded, you know, by your own community, by Uyghur members who, you know, we're all, you know, in the same struggle where we're trying to keep our identity alive, we're trying to keep our language alive, and because we all have this common thing that we're trying to do, we realize that we're helping each other without even, like, without realizing. You know, it was like self-consciously just helping each other. Because even self-consciously, I realized, like, you know, alhamdulillah, I'd say my Uyghur is pretty good. And I realized that's all because of everything that's helping self-consciously. You know, we're speaking at home, speaking with my friends.
You never realized that at first, your parents were trying to help you out as much as they could.
Exactly, like,
that's
because, you know, in the smallest ways, you know, even like, for example, when I would watch like a show, like, you know, he knows Abdul Karim Ablis. Like, I'm sure if the Uyghurs who are watching, everyone knows Abdul Karim Ablis.
We'll put it here.
Yeah. Abdul Karim, he's a legend. And every time I needed to get my Uyghur better, I would go and watch his, like,
and that's available on YouTube, online, all that.
Every Uyghur who's grown up in overseas has that one, like, iconic Uyghur person that they go to learn Uyghur. And for me, my first show that I watched on YouTube was actually like a program from Kashgar. People say that it was a little bit propaganda, but it really helped me, like, learn a lot of, like, new words and stuff. So and listening to songs as well, like, you know, Aisha Gul Mehmet, Rashida Dawood, all of these, Qitiq, Farhad Qaliq, you know, from Urumqi. All of these really famous artists really, you know, maintain our culture and help youth that are growing overseas learn their language. Like me.
Do you find, like, in Australia that less and less people are picking up the Uyghur language, or there are more in the youth especially?
I think honestly, I think it depends.
Yeah.
It really does depend, because obviously, you know, like us, I think not just as Uyghur people, but us like ethnic minorities in Australia, you know, we're trying to get by, you know, because that's the thing. There's two struggles for us, because when we're back in our own country, we face like a form of like, you know, prosecution, obviously, like, you know, depending where you're from, whether it be Palestine, Sudan, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, you know, unfortunately all these Muslim countries, you know, we're suffering in our own countries, but then when we come here, we also face a form of struggle, face of suffering, because racism, Islamophobia, you know, trying to keep a culture alive, trying to keep identity alive. And it's not easy, because yes, at home, you know, you can teach Uyghur Chai, you can teach the culture, but then the real world exists. You know, as soon as you get to school, that's when, you know, they're not speaking the language as much. Or, you know, when you go to university, like for example, for me, there was like a year where I barely had any, like, of course I had Uyghur contact, but it wasn't as frequent. This was like 1 year, this was the year I got to university, when I went to uni. And obviously I'm surrounded by just Australians, you know, so that's the struggle, to keep the language alive, to keep the culture alive.
Well, it might feel like you're being pulled by two different paths,
That's
and
it.
one of them leads you to Australia, or more like, you know, to be assimilated, and the other part leads you to preserving, you know, your culture, your faith, your language, for example. We've spoken before on this podcast about like a third culture, where it's like you're not fully Uyghur, you're not fully Australian, not fully Turkish, not fully. You're right in the middle, and it creates its own culture, its own identity. Perhaps it's a crisis. Do you find that, you know, you've sort of fit more into this third culture?
I would say yes at first. I definitely did find myself like stuck in the crossroads between, you know, should I be more Australian or should I be more Uyghur? But over time, as I get older, as unfortunately the situation in our country gets worse, I've of course gone closer to my actual side, which is the Uyghur culture. Because what I realize is that no matter how hard I try to assimilate, or any youth that's born in Australia tries to assimilate, at the end of the day, we'll never really be fully Australian. Because yes, you know, of course, like, you know, there are some Australian values that match with Uyghur values, but at the end of the day, I know that, you know, I'm not a white Australian. You know, I'm never going to really be accepted. You know, I can try my best to be assimilated, but I will still be looked at as the other.
Once I realized that, you know, I didn't want to shave my beard anymore personally. Like, I didn't want to hide that I have to pray. Like, I said to myself, you know, if I'm Muslim, I have to be a Muslim, whether it's behind closed doors or open in the public as well.
100%.
You know, it's not something that anyone should be ashamed of, a religion. You know?
No, it shouldn't.
Go ahead,
Can I just add something that, you know, perfectly encapsulates what you just said, from a man that's part of this book, actually, Abduwali Ayub Akash.
Oh yes, I met him.
And you met him as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, at the film
At the
screening.
film
Yes.
screening.
He was here in Melbourne for a while. And actually, he was saying in his film, and one of his quotes, and I really like this quote as well, is when he said that our ancestors didn't toil for this land.
Yes.
Like, let that sink in for a second. Our ancestors didn't toil for this land in Australia, and neither did the ancestors of, you know, the majority white population here. So we're all guests. Let's be honest. We're all guests in this land. And he obviously said that in Uyghur Chai, but I'm just translating, paraphrasing in English. I just thought it was like really meaningful.
No, that is true, because that's the thing. I think what I've realized is that, you know, with everything going on, is that, because, you know, as we all know, in Australia, I mean, all over the world, but recently in Australia, the whole anti-immigration stuff. Now, the biggest thing I realized, even with, like, you know, Palestine cause, the Uyghur cause, even like the Native Americans, you know, the difference of how you can tell between the people who belong on that land and the people who don't belong on that land is how much they respect it.
Exactly.
Because, for example, you know, the indigenous Australians here, the respect and love that they have for the land, you can tell. Because they're not destroying it, you know, they're not trying to strip away resources from it. Same thing with the Native Americans. They pay respects to their land as well. Same thing with us Uyghurs, you know, like my mum's family friend, she, one time, this was like a couple of years ago, she went to Vatan, she went to East Turkestan, and the only souvenir she brought back was literally, she got a small bag and put the dirt in it. And then so my mum still has it. But like, you know, to someone else it's just like, oh, this is just a piece of dirt. But my parents, they literally, like, they're crying, that's just bored their eyes out. Because it's like, this is soil from our land. And I think that's the difference. That's how you can tell between the people who actually are belonging to that land
Yeah.
and people who don't. Because, you know, I've realized even with, because I've went to Europe a couple of times, you know, for example, the native Europeans that actually belong in Europe,
Yeah.
you can tell because by the way they respect their own land.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then
sure.
when they come to a land that's not theirs, what do? First thing, they strip away its resources and then make the land plain.
They
Yeah.
exploit it.
If they exploit it, yeah, they just
Pretty
exploit
much
it.
Exactly what's happening in East Turkestan right now,
Yeah.
also known as Xinjiang Autonomous Region,
Hmm.
which essentially the land itself is huge.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's the size of Western Australia if you think about it.
It's pretty big.
Yeah,
It's really
and
big, yeah.
the only reason why that it's being exploited is because of its natural resources.
Yeah.
As you were saying, the colonialists are in a lot of these new lands because of the natural resources.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
sad to see. But you know, in light of that though, you said Watan or Watan before.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tell us more about that.
Vatan, the direct translation for it is homeland.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't know, it's such a beautiful word, Vatan, because you know I could say East Turkestan, but that's the country's name. But when I say Vatan, that's when I feel it more.
More personal connection.
Yeah,
to
because it means homeland. Because obviously you know the basic translation of it is like, yep, that's where we belong, that's our home.
Yeah.
But it's more, I'd say it's the feeling that it invokes. Because me, I've never actually been to Vatan. I was born here in Australia. You know, I've never been back. I can't really go back.
Right.
But I still have this connection to it that I can't explain.
Yeah.
It's like I miss a place that I've never been to. You know, and that I think really shows the connection that we as Uyghurs have to our homeland, to our Vatan.
Yeah, of course.
Because, like I said, I was never born there. I've never seen there. I've never, you know, never even like felt the soil of that land.
Yeah.
Mm.
You never,
I've never
even
stepped
breathe the oxygen of
Yeah.
that then.
But
you
I
still feel a connection.
Yeah, and I think
Do you
that
think that's
obviously,
spiritual?
I think it could be spiritual, but it can also be from the thing of like, because the Vatan that I have is what my parents told me, right? Because every time my parents talk about it, it's more than just their memories. You know, it's more than their childhood memories. It's really a feeling, and this feeling, I'd say it is spiritual. It's almost like a feeling that it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
But I think all Uyghurs that are living in the diaspora, they know this feeling.
I know.
Like I don't really have to explain it; you just know it.
I think the word for it is, and this is an Uyghur word as well, I think we say muqam in Uyghurcha, which means just togetherness.
Yes.
Spirituality in Uyghurcha. So I think, yeah, personally speaking, I'm inspired by you.
Damn.
I hadn't listened to your Uyghurcha and how close you are to your own culture.
Yeah. Thanks.
I've been lucky enough to experience 6 years in Vatan. I was born in Urumqi, but I haven't had the same obviously I haven't had the same relationship to my homeland as you do. Yours is different in the sense that you have a more of a familial connection there. Your family is here. I was more so just I came here by circumstance, right?
Yeah.
So
Do you think it may have something to do with being from Adelaide, where the Uyghur community is much stronger compared to Melbourne, where it's more spread out? Some, you know, that there's not as many Uyghur groups, for example, in Melbourne. Do you find that might be a difference?
I definitely think so.
Yeah?
Definitely think so. Obviously, you know, the Melbourne is really big.
Yeah.
We all know Melbourne is huge, and you know it can be hard to really get together. It can be, but I think if you really put your mind to it, you can do it. But that's why it's also helped that Adelaide is pretty small. But also, alhamdulillah, the biggest thing that we were able to achieve is that we've really formed a community. You know, like I genuinely, like every time, like for example, the moments where I really felt the community was like my parents. One time they went to Umrah.
Yeah.
And then my mum, she didn't want to go. She was like, okay, who's going to feed you guys? Who's going to look after you guys? Firstly, I was like, Mum, I'm a whole adult.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, of
Your
course.
other sons, because I have 4 younger brothers, they're not babies anymore. Like, we'll survive. I also told her, I'm like, I said this, I'm like, do you really think the Uyghur community is going to let us starve? I said that.
Mashallah.
As soon as I said that, literally, from the day my parents left, they were gone for about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Every single day, someone was inviting us
Wow.
to their house.
That's amazing.
This was family members, these were family friends, these were just friends every single day. To the point where I had to turn down 2-3 people.
Wow. Okay, because they knew that your parents
Yes,
had gone.
'cause
They
they
wanted to
knew.
make sure that you're still comfortable, you're still
That's
safe.
it. That's it. Like,
That's
and the thing is,
amazing.
I can cook, like I can do that, but obviously they know that. But
He
it's
can
that,
cook. He can
I can cook,
cook.
guys.
Yeah.
I can cook. But like,
Or
it's,
co-op.
that's it. No, none of that, bro.
No
Like,
lebanon?
pasta,
on.
fried chicken. Easy
Pasta
stuff.
is Uyghur anyway.
Yeah,
Okay, bro.
that's it,
Yeah,
that's it.
Marco Polo got it
So
from
in,
the
this,
Uyghurs.
in the eyes of your mom, you can't cook actually.
Pretty much, apparently not. Apparently not.
okay.
Apparently not.
You gotta impress her first.
Nah,
before you can
exactly.
impress,
Yeah.
She's never tried my food. That's why.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So like, that was when like the community, like I really appreciated the community. Like, of course, I really appreciate the community, but it's moments like that. It's the small moments, and I think, alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed to have grown up in Adelaide to have that.
Yeah.
Because that's also influenced why I do what I do.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously, like my family, like we've been very involved with all this advocacy work, all this Uyghur work for a very long time,
Also,
and
this
my
is
whole
the
family.
time you were born, you were
Essentially,
you were
literally.
out of the womb and you started becoming.
Oh,
activists.
100%, 100%. And you know, like it wouldn't be very hard because what we do, it's not easy stuff.
Yeah,
You know, this is very, very heavy stuff. Like, you know, there's to a point where like one time I had to like stop looking at social media because it was just too much.
Yeah.
But despite all that hardship, there's this comfort in knowing that I'm not the only one. And that's what the Adelaide Uyghur community has really helped with, you know, in a way, because we all had this like struggle that we all know. We never really talked about it, but we just know. And it's like, and that's what forms a community.
Unspoken trauma.
That's it.
Yeah.
And like that's what helps with the, you know, that connection, that
Yeah.
family-like kind of thing. And I think that's what has strengthened the Adelaide Uyghur community, because we found the like familiarity, the commonality within our struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you said you've been overseas. You went to Europe a couple of times,
Yeah.
a few times. How have you found the Uyghur community overseas to have treated you, or have you been welcomed by them as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I literally was like, and mind you, like some of these people, like I had only known them on social media, and as soon as I go, like to the point where like I was like begging people to let me just buy a hotel, because you know obviously it feels great, like it's amazing. It's like oh my god, alhamdulillah, like you know the hospitality is great.
Yeah.
But then there's the other, so there's a feeling, there's the Uyghur thing of like, oh my god, like, you know, hospitality. But then also the thing is like, you feel guilty. It's like, oh my god, the hospitality, why am I doing this?
Of course.
You know?
If I've been to like a bunch of people's houses and they're all Uzbek or Uyghur or Turkish, and they've all offered me food, by the time I get to the fourth person's house, I feel so bad if I say, oh, I'm full, I already ate.
Exactly,
you know, and they say,
exactly.
but we made this food
You have
for
to,
you.
yeah, literally.
You gotta
literally.
eat it.
But like, that's not only was I like coming to the house for food, but they let me stay there, you know?
Yeah.
Like they, like, because I only knew like the youth there. And then the parents would just be like, yeah, you know, tell them to stay here, tell them to stay here. You know, so that the hospitality, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's literally everywhere.
That's amazing.
Like
That's really
wherever
amazing.
you go, wherever there's an Uyghur order, you won't go hungry, and you'll have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the biggest things I learned, and that's the biggest thing I appreciated. You know, wherever I go, wherever there's an Uyghur, there's a food there. There's
This really.
There's advantages to being in a diaspora.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
100%.
almost as if like you can use your Uyghurness as an excuse to travel, right?
yeah, 100%,
Yeah, you can
100%.
find Uyghur in that town, Uyghur in that town.
You
It's
just
like,
want to take
okay,
advantage of being Uyghur,
Yeah.
huh? You want to like use it to the most, you know,
That's it,
find
that's
free
it.
you know
accommodation,
what?
free
I'd rather
food.
take advantage of being Uyghur than advantage of being Australian, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
That's
honestly,
fair.
that's true as well.
Yeah,
Apart from
of
the
course.
Australian passport's alright.
That's that.
184 countries with no visas.
Yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
good. That's the
wow.
only good part. That's the only good part. Everything else, not so much.
Hey,
We're,
look,
we're gonna get cancelled, guys.
Yeah.
hey,
Oh,
look,
we'll
the-
say a
the,
lot more stuff together.
beaches,
Don't worry.
the coffee and the beaches are alright.
No, coffee at the beaches.
But that
Coffee is
wasn't imported by the England.
See, that's the thing. Like with this whole anti-immigration thing, is like, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I don't care. Is that most Australians, white Australians, they're immigrants too. They're immigrants too.
100%.
You know,
yeah.
the only people
it
that
before.
can, the only people that actually have the right to be like, you know, you don't belong on these lands are literally just Indigenous Australians. They're the only ones.
100%.
Everyone is like, no one else can say that.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're white Australian, like you cannot say that,
Yeah.
because this country was built by immigrants.
Absolutely.
You know, and they were the immigrants,
Yeah.
and they were the first immigrants.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw your thing about when that guy was like, oh, you know, okay, so how is what the difference between, you know, a prisoner from back then that came and stole a piece of bread to someone that might rape? One, like you said in the thing, it's a hypothetical. But two, most of the crimes, most of everything, yes, it's committed by some ethnics, but that's the thing. It's also committed by white people.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
A lot of the pedophiles,
Yeah.
every single case, it's always been white people. What about that?
Yeah, it is quite quite alarming, but they don't want to face those facts.
No.
They don't want to look at that.
There's a
Their
double
standards
standard.
are so different.
There's
Of
the
course.
biggest double standard, and you can tell me that there isn't a double standard, because there is.
We
There is the
gotta-
biggest
we gotta
double
spit
standard.
facts. On this show, we don't hide the truth.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And we're going to be looking at Uyghur Resistance, the book,
Yeah.
in
yeah,
just a
let's-
second.
Yeah, let's focus on
We're
that.
going to just top up our tea and then we'll be right back, okay?
Yeah.
So this book here, this piece of history, subhanAllah, that this team in Australia, the Uyghurs, the supporters, the activists have been able to put together is Uyghur Resistance. And we also have Nasrullah featured. If you want to find your photo. He makes a very dashing appearance, mashallah. I don't know what to say, but I think...
Hey man, that's credits to Sam. You made it good, man.
Sam Biddle.
Whatever that
We want
that
you
was
next.
all him. That was all him, man. He made me look good. He made me look good
He is a
somehow.
good photographer.
He's a
guys.
very good
Yeah.
photographer. He's actually he took all the photos in
All
this
of
book.
them?
Yes.
Pretty much
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single
Single
one.
one.
Every single one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
You can
honestly,
tell
the
that he's a passion
team,
for his work.
genuinely, like the team that have done this, like, you know, it's like not only is this like a book of like a Uyghurs as a piece of history,
Yeah.
but for me the biggest thing is the fact that like majority of the people that did this, they weren't Uyghur, they were Australians, right? They were white Australians, and I think what hits for me is the fact that the allies of Uyghurs, they don't have to help us. You know, for example, like you don't have to. There's no, thing that says, for us obviously as Uyghurs, there's a bit of a responsibility for
Of
us
course.
to do work for our people.
Of course.
But
Personally, yes.
for allies, they don't really have to, but
Yeah.
they want to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really resonates with me, is that this book is proof that, people other than Uyghurs do care about Uyghurs. That people other than us care about us, and that they care about our stories.
Yeah.
They care about what's happening to our people. They care.
100%.
They care. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I've just found myself.
Okay.
There
Here we
I
go.
am.
Drum roll.
There I am.
By the
So-
way, you're gonna sign this, yeah, later?
Yeah.
That would be
I charge
amazing.
for that. I charge, bro.
Okay.
$150.
No shame. No shame anymore.
So
We live in a society.
mashallah, this dashing gentleman. I want to see.
Can you zoom into when like the next page is praying?
100%. Oh, is there another?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a next
there
thing.
it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I actually really
okay,
like that
mashallah.
photo.
Yeah.
This is a very, very nice photo.
Yeah, it is a nice one.
Mashallah. So get a signed copy from him for $150.
This is in Adelaide, yeah?
This is in
Yeah.
Adelaide. This is actually at the...
Adelaide prices are very high. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inflation, guys. Inflation. Yeah, so this is actually at the Wandana Mosque. So
Oh,
this,
the one I went to.
this masjid, it's, people call it the Uyghur Masjid because all the Uyghurs go there.
Mhm.
Like, I'd say literally, like, people live at around like a 15-kilometer radius of
Yep.
the masjid.
Yep, right.
Like, we all live very close to each other. And the reason why it's called the Uyghur Mosque is that the Imam there is Uyghur.
Yep.
The Uyghurs actually, like, renovated it, built it. But obviously it's open to everyone, but the
Yep.
majority of Uyghurs go there.
Yep.
And this was taken during the nikah of my cousin.
Oh,
And
lovely.
yeah, I mean, I got nothing much to say. I mean, if you
Do
guys
you
ask
find
questions.
that
Cousin, by the way, is here.
Is it? Oh yeah, I did
Yes,
like
yes,
this
there
too.
you go.
Oh,
Click the
shucks.
page. And
Actually,
okay.
I have
Yeah.
this cousin and I've got another cousin here. Hold on,
Lots of cousins.
just let me find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, while
His
you're
entire
looking,
family is in this book. Yeah.
that's amazing. You've got a whole
Yeah.
family tree.
Yeah,
Do you find that the Uyghur, I suppose, attendants and the worshippers who've come to Wandana Mosque, has that inflated? Has it maybe deflated the number? Do you find that Islam is growing in the Uyghur community in Adelaide?
Yeah, I'd say it stayed steady.
It's staying the
Like
same.
of course, like in the 90s when there weren't as many Uyghurs in Adelaide, like Islam wasn't like a big part of like the Uyghur community.
Right.
Because one thing that we need to like say is that this is a common misconception. There's culture and then there's religion. And unfortunately, a lot of people they mix culture and religion, and that's why they outside they for example if they see something like a woman getting abused or something, they relate that to Islam, but that is not
Yeah.
Islam, that is culture.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, like I'd say it's steady but also growing.
Okay.
So it grew like in the 90s when there was like Uyghurs coming in, because a lot
Yeah.
of Uyghurs came to Adelaide around the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And then after that, alhamdulillah, like the main core of the Uyghur community is like we really prioritize Islam, because a lot of the values and like cultural values and stuff of the Uyghur culture, it aligns well with Islam.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Of course.
I think that's why it's just stayed the same. And even with the masjid, like obviously, like even if there are like obviously I'm not trying to like point out fingers, but even if there was non-practicing Uyghurs, the least they do is come to Jummah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Islam has become such a way of life for Uyghurs You know, even though it's a separate entity, it's become so part of our culture, and that is what China's trying to get rid of. You know,
That's
they're
the
trying.
link.
That's the
segue,
link.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But they
how
can't.
China's trying.
They can't.
They can't.
They're
100%.
trying, but they
Bush, egg
can't.
mess,
Not in
Uyghurs.
Australia.
This book is like it's the biggest FU to the Chinese.
Yeah, the
government.
CCP is fuming right now.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, the
100%.
Uyghur Resistance Book. How could they do
Maybe
this?
we just talk about the title for just a second. Yeah, so title is pretty important. Uyghur Resistance, but obviously since there's no direct translation for resistance in Uygurcha, we've decided to name it Baş Egmez Uygurlar.
Yeah.
Baş Egmez essentially means you
The
don't
head
put your
does not
head
bow.
down.
The head doesn't bow. That's
Yes.
it. Like the team that made this, they who I don't know whoever came up with this title, but it is genuinely the
Really
like
good
That's
title.
a
really
very
title.
good title, yeah.
Baş Egmez Uygurlar literally directly translates to Uyghurs that do not bow down, that do not you know get brought down, because that's what the Chinese government has tried to do to us for years now, since
Yeah.
1949. Because that's the thing, that's what they fear.
Yeah.
They, I can say this right now, and I'm saying the CCP are the biggest cowards there is, because I've seen it firsthand how cowardice they are. We went to a protest in front of the Adelaide Zoo because one of the Chinese delegates was coming to visit Wang
Oh,
Wang and Funi.
yeah, I'd seen that.
When we were there were obviously Chinese supporters to be like, oh yeah, we support you, you know, in there. Now, us, maybe we were about maybe 100, maybe 120.
Yeah.
They were at least in the 200s and 300s. But when us small number, when we there, we were so loud, so vocal, so active. Literally, they couldn't do anything.
Wow.
This literally, like, I shouldn't be saying it, but you know, obviously, us Uyghurs, you know, we get a bit heated too. And if we see that Chinese red flag, it's hands on spot. So
Spot.
we, like, you know, there was a Chinese who, like, you know, because to the point that they were so scared they went around us
Yeah.
to all the way back, and then this guy was so far in the distance, and he put up the finger at us, and he was saying like, "F you guys, terrorists," all of that. So a couple of the boys went, and I joined them. I didn't do anything, but a couple of the boys went to be like, you know what, let's get this guy.
Okay.
They went up to him. They went up to this guy, and they were like, mind you, there's 30 of those guys, okay? 30 of them, all right, men and women. 30 of them. We went up. One of the boys went up to the guy and was like, "Say what you said before." He's like, "Oh, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything." Oh, I didn't. Mind you, they were also hiding behind their wives. There was 5 of us, 30 of them,
Right.
and that is the bulk of the Chinese, like, peoples.
That
That's what they
sums
are.
up Chinese people.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They are cowardice, and that is why they try. That is why they're trying to bring us down so much. Because they know that us Uyghurs, if we unite, if we come together as one, they can't stop us.
Yeah.
It was actually like a couple thousand years ago, 100 years ago, we were ruled by a Chinese king,
Right.
and he named 6 attributes. He said that Uyghurs, if they have 7 attributes that they need for them to be able to conquer the world. They have 6 of them. The one attribute that they don't have, that if they had it, they will conquer the world, is unity.
Unity.
Because unfortunately, I love the Uyghur community. You know, I'm Uyghur myself. I pride myself on who I am. But the biggest thing that we struggle with is unity.
Correct.
And that is why this book is so important, because this book is it's essentially, it's a piece of history, and it's a written down history of what happens when Uyghurs come together, right? And what happens is it becomes resistance. It becomes resistance in the way we talk, in the way we dress, in the way we eat, the way we greet each other, the way we smile, the way everything becomes resistance. And that's why this book is so important, because this, I'd say, is the first piece of written thing where it shows that we are more than just our struggle.
Yeah.
You know, we're more than all the bad things that have happened to us.
Yeah.
You know, we are not victims, we're survivors.
Correct.
And more than that, we're fighters. You know, we're more than just victims, and that's why this book is so important. And I think everyone should, you know, Uyghur,
Check out the link.
definitely should
It's going
check
to
it
be
out.
in the description, guys.
Yeah.
Please, let's sell this out.
Yeah.
I think there was about a lot of copies sent to America recently.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you live in America, check this out. Please,
Even if you go to Europe, if you have European watchers, they're going to send a few copies to Europe as well. And I think more importantly, I think it's more important for non-Uyghurs to buy this book.
Okay.
I think that's the most important part. Yes, as Uyghurs, you know, we're passionate about this,
Yeah.
but I think it's more important for non-Uyghurs to read this and really educate themselves.
Yeah.
And you know, if you want to help and you don't know how to, or you know, of course, if you're a bit afraid of like, you know, because it's understandable because not all situations are the same. I know that there's a lot of Uyghur families, a lot of Uyghur people, they want to do something, but they can't, you know, and that is completely understandable.
Yeah.
But what you can do, what the Chinese government won't be able to track you on, I promise, is this book. Literally, simply purchasing this book is a form of resistance, and it shows that, you know, we're not gonna, as it says, we're not gonna bow down.
Well, it's a preservation of culture. This book is gonna outlast an entire generation of Uyghurs.
100%.
So it's gonna be, definitely a preservation of our stories.
I think that you're so right in what you said about how, for the people who don't know how to support Uyghurs, I've had so many people wondering, so what can I do? Like, do I really just have to boycott all these, you know? Well, there's also this idea of breaking down that cultural barrier or that misunderstanding that you might have, you know, like even just knowing how to pronounce Uyghur is so important. I've spoken about this before, but it's like when people get you to pronounce it a certain way, for example, which makes me cringe, is Uyghur. Now look, you can say it like that. I respect that you're at least trying, but try say Uyghur at least, or Uyghur if you can make that sound. That would be amazing. So just understanding that culture, how you can relate to it, like what parts of your culture do you find within the Uyghur culture as well? You know, what part of, you know, your mother, your brother, this, that, your family, your community, religion as an aspect, how can you relate to it? And so I find that it's so good we have this reflection of the culture.
100%.
It's amazing.
Because even like so with the Uyghur, the Uyghur thing, because actually Uyghur is actually a Chinese derived term for us. So even saying Uyghur is almost kind of like going into that colonized like mindset.
Yeah.
You know?
It's toxic.
And then, you know, a lot of things, like, you know, what big thing that us Uyghur advocates, us Uyghur activists have been trying to do is that trying to get people to say East Turkestan and not Xinjiang. Because Xinjiang, and I like actually like said it in this book, Xinjiang in Chinese means new territory. But we're not new. There's hundreds and hundreds of years of history in our culture, in our land. So how can that be a new territory?
Well, it's like New Zealand is not new.
No,
It was Maoris were there like long before the colonials.
They are trying to change New Zealand a little more with the brackets. I forgot the actual name. It starts with A, but it's more like the Maori name, you know, instead. So yeah, one day inshallah,
East Turkestan.
East Turkestan will be free.
Yes.
Okay. First Palestine and then East Turkestan, inshallah.
And
all the other way around, because they're all as important as each other, honestly.
That's the thing, and like, you know, unfortunately, like, biggest thing that I think I've realized, not just in Uyghur, but in the Muslim things, is that for some reason we can't come together as one. You know, we need to realize that we have more similarities and differences. The only difference that we have is probably language or the way we look. But other than that, you know, I've found that, like, for example, I found, you know, this was like, you know, we'll just track back to like the whole assimilation thing. You know, about how you asked me if we could assimilate. I found that I have more in common than, like, let's say like someone from like, you know, I've got a lot of like Burundian friends, like Africa, like African friends. I have more in common than them than I do have with like the white people. You know, I have more in common with like the Vietnamese person or a Cambodian person or a Pakistani person, because all ethnic minorities, you know, we have that culture, and I think that's where the similarity is.
That struggle to maintain your identity.
That's it.
Identity crisis is real, guys. It's not just like a buzzword that people throw around. It's real. It's what we experience on a daily basis as migrants, as first and second generation migrants in Australia. I'm not sure if you've experienced it, Numan, at all.
Well, yeah, 100%. I think just struggling with, or not even struggling, but trying to juggle being a Muslim and also, I suppose, being, you know, Turkish and Australian. Although being Turkish and Muslim, that's just my culture and my religion. I don't find that that's too difficult, but sometimes showing people that, you know, like, I gotta go pray. Like, I gotta tell them I gotta pray. And then I tell them about 2 hours later, I gotta pray again. And they're like, oh, didn't you just pray? You know what I mean? Sometimes I get awkward. So there's always little nuances. But I think it's just a matter of doing it because you know it's right. You know, if you think that I'm an Uyghur and I have to be an Uyghur because I am Uyghur, that's what you got to do. You know, you got to act on that. If you say I'm a Muslim and I have to be a Muslim because I'm Muslim, I have to show that. You know,
if it sits right with you, then that means it's who you are.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to embrace it, I think, rather than fit in and be like every single other person.
That's it.
That's
And
so boring.
like embracing who you are, like it will also bring you more joy. Like just being who you are as a person, that's what will bring you more joy than trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
And that's what assimilation is. You're trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
But there's no point in trying to be someone else.
I love when people ask me questions because I might wear the doppa, you know. I have one, alhamdulillah, it's still in my car. I wear it to Jummah, and people might ask me, or they recognize it. They say, "Oh, you're wearing a Uyghur hat." I say, "Oh yeah, it's a doppa."
Yeah.
And they say, "So are you Uyghur?" I say, "No, you know, but I'm very close with this community. My family, we have a bit of Uzbek in us. So I find that it's so important for me to embrace it, and we shouldn't keep the word Uyghur out of our mouths.
No.
So that's just a great thing that we can all try to reflect on, inshallah, embracing our identity.
Ameen.
Yeah, inshallah. Well,
That's a good end.
yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We do really
Having me.
appreciate
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Please, once again, check out the book Uyghur Resistance. We'll have a link,
In the description.
and make sure you follow for more. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hosh.
Gosh.
Okay.